Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another late night chat. I'm your host, Lonnie, and it's not as late as you might think, actually, on this one. It's actually a little after 7 in the morning. I've finally started my third shift, so expect my videos to be either early in the morning for me, or maybe if I get them in time before I go to work. Depends on the night, depends on my mood. But tonight, or today, whatever you want to look at, I want to do a review of a game that continues a series without continuing the series. And that is God of War Ascension. There it is right there. Guys, let me tell you a little about this game. Okay? Once again, you get to reprise your role as Kratos. However, this is, as the title implies, Ascension. This is a story before God of War 1, but yet still somehow after having acquired the chains of Olympus. It's kind of strange where it fits in the whole grand scheme of things, because you constantly go back and forth between Kratos pre-Ares and Kratos post-Ares, but it's not Kratos where he's trying to go kill Ares, it's Kratos before he finally decides, I need to go kill Ares. So what happens is, Kratos made his oath to Ares to serve him to beat the barbarians, and he winds up breaking his oath. But not before completing the 3 blood tasks sent down by these Furies. The Furies are the main villains of the game, who you are ultimately trying to kill to advance your story through the series. And while it's kind of interesting, it's also unnecessary. This is a game that it doesn't feel like it's rushed. I mean, it plays just like any other God of War game you've played, or every God of War game you've played. It plays exactly like them, so it wasn't a rushed title. It just feels like it wasn't a very well thought out title, because I think what the fans are wanting is God of War 4. But they're not ready to create that yet or something, so they thought maybe this could hold us over. It does, but it really lacks in the God of War franchise. Not to say it's a bad game, but out of 5 games, this by far is kind of the weakest one, but it's still a good game in its own right. So I mean, for 6 titles and not to have a bad game, that's kind of unheard of. But the 6th title, definitely, it's starting to weaken because they won't advance the story. They just want to continue to tell us events from his past that are completely unnecessary. Case in point. So these Furies, after he decides to break his oath, they try to break him. They try and break his spirit by seducing him or pandering to him with fame and fortune, or there was one other way, which was, I think, just his family. You know, the life he could live of either being rich and having women, or being, you know, famous and feared, or having his life back with his wife and child, which ultimately all of these scenarios are fake, and Kratos realizes it because he sees a certain ring that each of the Furies wear. So the story's good, just unnecessary. The gameplay, again, it's any God of War you've ever played, but it doesn't have really, you know, interchangeable weapons. Like, you can't just whip out your bow and arrow out of nowhere and just start, you know, shooting things from afar. Instead, it's got these worldly environmental things, such as a spear or a big hammer of some sorts, or maybe you'll get lucky and one of your enemies will drop his weapon and you'll be able to take it and pick it up, which you'll then be able to use your spear, as your long range hammer. You swing, but it runs out. And if you hold the L1 button and then hit circle, it does like a big attack. So the spear you throw in the air and just like 10 spears come down or something, and the hammer you just chuck and knock somebody down. But the villains that you do fight, the only cool one was the substitute for the Cyclops. You do fight a Cyclops, but you actually fight more of these big elephant things, which are kind of cool. That's about it. They replace Medusas with the snakes that still act like Medusas, and they have the big, cobra hoods and everything. So they just kind of palette swapped characters. They kept the same character, but they just changed how it looked, sort of deal, Nothing really new or innovative here. The gameplay, again, you have your chains. You've got your chains, but instead of having different magical sources, instead you powered your chains up via Hades, Poseidon, Zeus, and Ares. You get fire power, ice power, soul power, and lightning. And you can swap on the fly which ability you want to use, and you can power up each one using orbs and everything. And I don't know, this one was a lot easier to power up because I don't think in any God of War game I've fully powered every single item. Ascension, I powered everything and had tons of orbs to spare. So that was kind of strange. And it's like they kind of dumbed it down a little bit, because I know at certain points I specifically missed chests. The special chests for your Gorgon eyes or your Phoenix feathers. And yet I still got all of those also. And I know I missed some. Like, I saw them as the screen was transitioning. I was like, oh no, I missed it. And I still maxed it out. Both of them. I got full health and full magic. And full power on all my other stuff. So it's like they dumbed it down a little bit. Which is kind of unfortunate. But the gameplay really doesn't add anything new, but it's still fun because it's still God of War. It's still Kratos. It's still badass, killing these monsters and ripping them to shreds. So satisfying, some of the death sequences in this game, how you just slice clean through some of these enemies, and it's so fucking cool. It really is, guys. So that's really neat. But that's the game, it's just, compared to the previous 5, it's just kind of underwhelming. And that's even for the PSP games, which I never really had high hopes for, and then they turned out much better than I thought. This, for being a main title, put on the PlayStation 3 itself, it's a little underwhelming. The gameplay kind of makes up for it in just being fun, but doesn't offer any new flavor. So what did they do to try and get that flavor? Well, God of War Ascension offers, for the very first time, multiplayer. Online multiplayer. And I played it. I've had quite a few matches, and what you get to do, you get to choose between Hades, Ares, Poseidon, and Zeus. And you choose a class, and then depending on who you choose, you get different perks and strength or magic or endurance and all that stuff. Durability. So, you choose a class, and then you have quite a few selections. You got a 4-on-4, a 2-on-2, you have an 8-man brawl where it's just the last man standing wins. They have a capture the flag type thing, and then they have co-op, which is really neat. And then they have single player also, for Challenge of the Gods or stuff like that. or Trial of the Gods, I think is what it's called. Excuse me, my mouth's kind of dry. So, online play is the new feature that they brought to this game, and once you've chosen your class and you get to the part where you can start matchmaking, you realize that, I mean, just kind of, you know how, like, I guess in Call of Duty, even though you start at level 1, you know, you can still, if you know what you're doing, I guess you can rank up easily if you know how to play. I assume. I've never played it. Well, this one, you don't have to really know how to play per se, because it's just a button masher. There's little to no skill. If you try to play skilled, you're going to get destroyed because of people who have just had a greater advantage than you, and they've got levels 20 or 30 or something, and you're starting out at 1. Right now I've made it up to level 13, 14, one of those two. And, yeah, I'm still getting my ass handed to me. Almost on countless occasions. And it's due to certain people, you know, spamming certain classes. Like, apparently, Hades has this moment where when you're beating their ass, they can just turn into a puff of smoke and just go away. They'll disappear, and then they'll catch you off guard, come back behind you, and just beat you down and shit, because they're a bigger level than you, so they can do that. But it's still fun. It's still something fresh, and it's innovative, and it's cool to go through some of those locations, like with the big-ass Medusa that you can control and freeze people, and like they die instantly and they crumble and shit, or the Desert of Lost Souls with the huge fucking Cyclops in the background that can whoop your ass if you get too close. Yeah, that shit's pretty fun. The co-ops are really cool because it's just like endless waves. How far can you make it? So that's the thing they tried to get on. And you can change your classes also on the fly in that too. If you're sick of Ares for a while and you want to try out Zeus, you can do it. But just know you're going to start at level 1 for the next class over. You know, it's kind of weird. You unlock different swords, magic attacks, armor, all kinds of neat stuff as you keep playing and leveling up. And you get to buy different things, different spells, and all this cool stuff. So it's neat. So, with all that wrapped in one package, where do I put this game as a whole? Well, as a story, it's a it's a 5. Because it's an unnecessary story. But the gameplay, even though it is lacking, it's still satisfying, so that makes it come up to a 6. And then the online mode, where, yeah, it can be a pain, but it is still just something cool and innovative that helps to bring this game up to where I think this game's a 7. It's a solid game to play, but it's not a solid story in the franchise of the God of War series. It's, you know, and just like any of the God of Wars where there's those little plot holes, it's like you got, in Ascension, you get so powerful near the end. Well, what the hell happened when you get over to God of War 1, the original? You know, why did all that shit disappear and you're just nothing? You're a weakling. At least God of War 2 starts you off big, and then they at least try to give a reason as to why you lose your powers. God of War 2 sucks, but at least they tried. God of War Ascension just says, hey, you built up to be this badass, and now in God of War 1, you completely lose it. So I don't know. There's always those little plot holes. I don't know. It's weird too, because they had a lot, I think, of hope for this game, because there's like tons of movies about the making of process, about the online multiplayer thing they had to go through, creating the story and all this stuff and creating the worlds and everything. Like they really gave it like the God of War 1 treatment, where they had all the videos about the lost level, or the hidden levels, or lost levels, I mean, the ones they took out and all that stuff. Excuse me, I'm sorry. So they really had a lot riding on this, and unfortunately it's still good, but it's nowhere close to the best one in the saga. So I don't know what they were expecting. I was maybe hopefully expecting a little more. Only thing that really saves it is that online, because the story is just not cool. You know, the only other really cool fucking thing about this game is the ending. Because I tell you what, that end boss, for those of you who beat it, you know what I'm talking about. And for those of you who might want to pick it up, when you get to that end boss, let me tell you, the Hydra ain't got shit on that. The Kraken ain't got shit on that. That damn thing was scary. That was honestly kind of terrifying. And I was like, whoa, my God. Because I thought we were going to fight it in the water. That was creepy. That was about the only other cool thing. Because there's no real boss battles other than that. Not really. There's an endurance mode. Kind of like right before the Pandora's box, and you had to survive that fucking onslaught in the conveyor belt room. They have something sort of similar to that in this, but it's going up an elevator. That was probably the most frustrating part of the game. Other than that, it's short. I beat it in about 9 hours, maybe 9.5. It's kind of a short game, but it was still a satisfying game, I guess, but the story was unnecessary. So yeah, all in all, God of War Ascension, as I drop it, because I'm fucking tired, gets 7 out of 10 from the Late Review. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please keep me posted on what you think. What do you give the game? Have you played it? Or are you going to play it? That's why I call it the Late Review, obviously. So, I'm Lonnie. You guys have a great day, great night, whatever. It's always better late than never. See you guys later.